Strange because at one point he seemed so normal. It seemed that we had almost known each other forever. Maybe we had traveled together in a previous lifetime. But what became really clear was all the things that I loved about him, which then reminded me that he literally interrupted my life and allowed me to see myself and held enough of a force in my life so that I would not be distracted from loving myself the way I dared to love him. Peace, my name is Stacy Patrice. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to tap into this idea of love today. Love, 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 love. It's one of my favorite topics as well. And I've noticed that this idea of love has grown within my mind and my heart for so long. It's grown beyond a person, beyond a partner. It has grown and deepened in my work and in my worth as a way to reflect upon the divinity that resides inside. I think without the path of my past, perhaps I wouldn't see love in a way that felt like where I have arrived with myself and within myself to fully understand what love actually is. And in so many conversations I've had, love always seems like this thing that is inside of us and it grows and it builds when we're with a person. And yes, a person is a kind of boomerang. It is a kind of, engaging with ourselves through the illusion of otherness, through the idea that what someone else has is actually different, special, or unique from what we have, which is true based on our own development. There is a uniqueness, an individuality that we bring, but the union is love. And one of the ways in which I understand love is self-love. It's the primary relationship that I say we are on a journey to further understand. Our larger journey is about understanding our divine nature, but of course, we explore that through our physical nature, our energetic, spiritual capacity, all of these things. So, what does it mean when you meet people that you love and you realize they're not meant to stay? What does it mean? Not a breakup, not a, I don't want this relationship with this person, but what does it mean? And I've encountered this greatly, so I want you all to chime in on this. What does it mean when you keep meeting people that feel like these wonderful connections to yourself, but those people are not meant to stay in your life? And so I hear a lot of people talk about decentering, decentering women, decentering men, but mainly women talking about decentering men. I don't know if I've heard any men talk about decentering women, but I think both could be a movement, right? And I think when I talk about love, I'm talking about that reflection. I'm talking about that aspect of yourself that you only really get to become aware of when you see it in other people. It reflects instantly back to you. It's like instantly, the more that you stare and look at yourself, the more you see those aspects that you see in other people looking right back at you. So it starts to become this creativity of connection that is encompassing your environment, encompassing your relationships and how you engage with people. And right now, I'm feeling something so special about love that I've talked about in a previous video, there's definitely a revolution that's happening with love. But what I feel now is when we sit here and we talk about someone and we say, wow, this person is really creative and intelligent and beautiful and interesting and funny and witty. And I like that they are, responsible and they are, responsive and they have such a way, such a style about themselves. The way that they move in my life is just so amazing. And once you start realizing that you're having this long conversation about this, what makes sense is when you realize like you're talking about yourself, you're talking about you. And in many of my workshops around love and connection and belonging, a lot of the exercises we have done have been about writing down what it is in your heart and in your spirit that you say is the connection to someone else. You say that this is the kind of person I'm looking for. This is who I'm really interested in and how, right? And you come back and you realize, wait a minute, that's actually pointing back to me. I could only find someone really funny if they are quirky, if I am also quirky. If I'm not quirky and I have no awareness of quirks, is the quirky even funny to me? Is that even my humor? You know, so like this is like this peering into self and looking so deeply into who we are that we understand it when we see it in other people in multiple forms of mastery, expression, imagination, and individuation, right? So love is a spectrum, and it's the spectrum that we get to reflect upon and see in others and others and others and others and others that reminds us how vast our own landscape is. It reminds us how beautiful our own reflection is. And it definitely reminds us about what that two-way street is between us and others. Because without it, are we even looking at the same thing? If you can't see aspects of yourself and other people, why do you think they're in your life? It's to awaken the fact that you already are that. And at the point that you really become awake to that, you really are hyper aware of that, 9 times out of 10, that relationship will stop existing. It's done its job. It did its work. It said, here you go, here you are, this is you. And then as soon as you were like, yeah, but wait, but wait, but wait, but wait, I want to get a little better look at it. I want to, and it's like, no, no. You've had your look. You've had your time to be up close with it, impersonal with it, engage with it, learn from it. You've had time to do all of that. So now it's time for you to be that. It's time for you to be that you aspire to see in others. Why do you aspire to see it in others? Because you are that. It is time for you to be that. And one of the ways this happens for me is like I even think about the work that I do, which is all through my chart. I couldn't deny this path if I wanted to. It's why every time I think I'm gonna do something else, it's like, no, no, no. So this work that I do, this self-love and soul healing work that I do in the multitude of ways and the creative ways that I do it and get it done, this work is about the I am. This work is about how a person sees themselves, how a person understands this larger definition of self. It is not at all about turning away from who you are. It is about leaning into who you are and having a deeper and a more clarified connection in who you are so that when you meet other people, you understand the assignment. When you meet other people, you understand what it is. You are sensitive to what it is. So love, not seeking another, seeking the depth within ourselves allows us to be loved in our depth. Seems obvious, more challenging to actualize for most people. The depth that you are looking for in someone else is the depth that is still left for you to seek within yourself. You may rely on other people at this point in your life to help show you your depth. You may have your favorite go-to people that represent what you feel is your depth, but your depth doesn't get touched just by being in proximity to other people, just by idolizing other people. Your depth gets touched when you try and find a space within yourself that you see in someone else. When you look at their reflection and understand it as you start to be a student to their teaching about how to be in depth with yourself. And this is the beauty and the energy of not just love, but why I love this work. I am my first student. There's nothing I'm sharing or talking about that's coming from a book that I read that I'm like, hey, yo, you should check this out. It is from me looking so deeply within myself. I wonder if you can guess what placements those are. Looking so deeply within myself nonstop, reflecting on the things that I've done, the things that I've been, the things that I can be, and reminding myself that it's up to me. So when people say, do you ever get visions of the person you'll end up with? Yeah, I'm already looking at him. I'm already looking at him. He's not going to be me in that respect, but it will be a mirror. There will be a mirror of sorts. There will be a mirroring. And my understanding of who somebody is, if they connect with me, is very much related to me understanding the principles that exist within each of us, and that someone can bring a different level or layer of principle. Just in the same way that, you know, in astrology, if you have the sun and you have Leo, and it's in the natural fifth house. You got the sun in Leo in the natural fifth house. You already know what time it is. That's a triple stack. That's like a belonging on belonging on belonging. It's a triple stack. That's how I see love. I see love like that. I see like the more that you start to develop something, the more you become more magnetic with it. And even like the more that you know something about yourself, the more you can accept it in others. And the more you understand what it is and you become aware of what it is that attracts you to others, that is operating with you and others, the more you start to find mastery in your own expressions because it stops that separateness. It stops that me and then you, or you and then me. And it becomes when we, us, are, you know, Mm, it starts to get really rich. This is where we start. We start on the path of self-love and soul healing. We unlearn the things that don't belong in our lives, the things that are not feeding us, not serving us, not up to date, not current, beyond expiration date. I have a video about that. We have those kind of things happening because we didn't take the time to heal our soul at the time that we needed to, perhaps because life was happening. But we have to go back and get it at some point. We got to Sankofa for this thing and say, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And today, since my feet hit the floor, today I have been deep in the beauty and study of something I'm so passionate about, which has just been like the ways in which we are the same everywhere we are. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about a mirror? The ways in which we are the same everywhere we are. How you start to see bits and pieces of your cousins and your family and people you know, and pieces of history through names and surnames and, all of these interconnecting parts that are so, so important to be aware of and not miss because this puzzle, although maybe jigsaw, although maybe getting more complicated and have more pieces than we ever understood, it is still something we have to find that kind of love to bring together in order to understand ourselves, in order to be deeply seated in our I am, which is where our love starts to radiate. We got to take the time to do that. And so if we're decentering other people, there's a great value in that. And everyone should go through that process. I always hear when people say they have to decenter the opposite sex or they have to center the same sex or whoever they were centering before, when they say they have to decenter them, that is a clear sign to me that they have always had them centered. So for people who have taken the time to put themselves in the center, we don't have to make such statements because it is already obvious to us that that's what we're doing. We're still in the center. And then we're experiencing ourselves now through others. So these are stages and phases. People who have always centered other people deserve to take some time to decenter, deserve to take the time to say, you know what? Actually, it's just going to be me and me right now. I don't have time to be out there with all of that. So take that time to look at yourself instead of looking at the reflections of others only and solely and majorly, right? Look at yourself too. And as you do, you'll start to discover why all of those people even showed up, what they were trying to show you, whether you got it then or you're getting it now or you're getting it later. You'll start to see all of those nuances that remind you that there's so much in you still untouched, untapped. When you start to dream and envision a world bigger than the one that you've been constantly living in, there's a certain lift and a certain high that comes like with the possibility that you can do it and you know that you can do it. And love is like that. It's like, can I love from the greater version of myself? Not the version of myself that I keep repeating that's like not doing something for me. Can I love from the greater version of myself? The part of me that like has never experienced this version of another person because I never dared to live this experience until now. And that also the people that I'm meeting are helping to formulate this version with me, whether they know they're collaborators or not. They're helping to do this. And don't get this confused with narcissism. Narcissism is very different than what I'm talking about. I am talking about the fact that we are all unified. And so you are that for others as well. There is no one-way street. The people whose lives you walked into, the way that you light them up, the way you remind them of who they are, the way they connect with you at certain critical periods that you happen to be masterful in, all of that, you know, love. I just heard letting our vulnerability energize. Love. Letting our vulnerability energize. I just heard that. That's how I'm going to speak of this. That's the kind of love that I'm talking about. It's when you realize it's not like these hard, tough lines. That's protection and guardedness from things that you were not aware of before that you need to be in the practice of being aware of now. But at some point, that heavy guardedness will present to you that it is not a necessity any longer. May you all receive the kind of love that reminds you that that guardedness is no longer a necessity. May you all continue on the path long enough that you're reminded that that guard is not a necessity. Because on the other side of that is something so beautiful that you are already tapped into before you had to guard yourself. And that's why it happened. You are already in tune with that great love. You are already a gallon sized lover. You are already the lover of all lovers, the romantic of the romantics, the beauty of the beauts. You are already that. The considerate, the consolidation of values and virtues. You are already on that path. This is not another lifetime. You are already on that path somewhere back there, if that's who you are. And the reason you want it again is because that's who you are. So you don't have to say, I'm looking for someone who is that. You have to say, I am looking to re explore the depth of me that is that. And that will attract other people who are that so that I can put these vulnerability, hard line barriers down. Mm-mm-mm. Y'all know. Y'all know I can talk about this all day. When I look at people's charts and I see how evolved and loving some people are, I can see all the gifts. I can see why somebody is like after these people. Like for real. They are the well. They are the well. Okay. Ah, letting our vulnerability express is also a good one. Letting our vulnerability express, energize, mm, elope, go off on your own thing, any of the E's. But I think the letting our vulnerability is the big one. And notice I said our, I didn't say my, I. Of course, that's not how you spell love, but also that's what this conversation is about. Lending our vulnerability as expression, like these kind of things. So, anyway, I'm gonna pause there. I'll be back to talk about love some more. I'm gonna leave some love nuggets on this channel from time to time. I'm one of those, if you've watched my previous videos, you know I'm a Venus in Pisces, you know, proudly in tropical and sidereal. A lot of people look at that as a negative. They're like, "Ooh, the illusion child." Nah, the reflection child, the reflections. The reflections that we get from people. If you are Venus and Pisces, drop a comment below. The reflections we get out of people that other people are like, that person is not like that. They like that to me. The reflections we get out of people are top tier. Now, that doesn't mean that there are people who don't abuse the fact that we have this good. There are people that abuse that. There are definitely people that abuse that. But that top tier, you know, to the heights, to the heavens, to the divine, to the richest definition of connectivity in the ways in which we are together. All of those, yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. So I want to encourage you today. Whether you're looking at your chart, not looking at your chart, whether you're into astrology, not into astrology, I want you to think about what those qualities are that maybe other people tell you all the time, and maybe they are the reflection. But people show up and you find yourself being like, man, I really am, right? Those things that you really are, your I am. And just think about how rich that is for someone to experience that from you. It's so juicy to think about how rich that is for someone to experience that from you. For someone to be able to look at you in your life and say, This person has the keys, right? They open up something in me that I'm not accustomed to other people. It's special because when we get together, we do that. It's not something that other people open up in me. Maybe not everybody opens up in me, but I know it's there. And when I connect, this person knows it there. It's there. And then when we get together, we kind of do that thing. We kind of do that thing. And I'm talking about compatibility and relatability and connection. I don't care how you express it sensually, you know, whether it's through touch or experiences or food or art or whether it is the way that you um, complete your missions in the world. But whatever the way you do it, we're not even talking about that. We're just talking about the presence of it. And right now, that's what people need to be talking about, the presence of it. Know where it is and where it isn't. Know when you see love and it connects and when people are performing. Also know when people want the love you have without giving you and reciprocating that love with you. They do empty actions to receive your love so that they can stay in the grace and the divinity of it. And that makes them more powerful. But then they go off on your own and they do their own thing. And then here you are drained. Nah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. You got to be able to spot that. And we'll talk about that some more too in another video. You got to be able to spot that because the most important thing is for your love well to be rich and pristine and to be able to feed a nation if you so decided to. Oh, that's all I'm going to say today. Love, letting our vulnerability energize. You feel that? I feel that. I am so grateful you all are here. Make sure you like, subscribe, drop something in the comments about this topic, whether it's the placements, whether it's your love experiences, whether it's the acronym, whether it's what you feel, what you learned that you are. Drop something in the comments one time. Drop something in the comments. I look forward to seeing your comments. I look forward to talking with you all soon. And here's to love. Cheers. See you on the next video. Peace.